Today we're going to be making kooky and colorful emus. I'm going to show you how to draw it, but I'm going to give you options for coloring. So let's find out which art supplies you need and let's get started. These are the supplies that you need in order to create your kooky and colorful emu. You need white paper, any size is fine, a pencil to do the sketching, a black Sharpie marker or any type of black marker that you can use to do your outlining. For your coloring options, you can choose from oil pastels, crayons, markers. I think I'm going to use a combination of oil pastels and markers. And if you have watercolor paint and you're doing the oil pastels or the crayons, I'll show you a little technique that you can use to add those. And if you want to create a fun name for your emu and put that at the bottom, as I have on this one, I named mine Tilly, you're going to need a magazine that you can cut letters out from, scissors, and glue. So gather up your art supplies and let's get started. So now we're ready to begin sketching our emu. An emu is the second largest bird by height after the ostrich, and an emu belongs to a group of flightless running birds known as retites. So this is a picture of an emu, a close-up one, and then the full body. And for our project, we're going to be designing the head and the neck. So we want to make sure that we have enough space when we're designing that. So we're going to start off with the beak first. You're going to want to come down to pretty much about the middle of the paper. And once we have the beak on there, it'll provide a nice guide for us to put our eyes in and the rest of the emu characteristics. So we're going to start with sort of like a rainbow shape. And remember, you want to sketch lightly. And then on the ends, you're going to curve that. Almost like a little C here, and then a backward C on this side. And then you're going to take that and you're going to come down and then curve back up. We're not going to worry about adding the middle part to it until after we do all the coloring. The eyes on our emu are a little bit more expressive and animated than the actual emu has, but you can see they're also pretty far apart, just like on an actual emu. So we're gonna copy that so that it looks the same. What I like to do sometimes when I have to draw two of the same thing is I just make a little guide point. So for the eyes, kind of think of it starting at the end of the beak here. So just take your finger, go up a little bit, and just place a little dot there. And then the same thing on this side, place a little dot on that side so that your eyes will be pretty much at the same distance. So you're going to start with the eyes with a curved line. Again, sketch lightly, and they're going to be big and expressive. So it's a curved line there, and then it comes out this way. So it's another curved line going that way, and then just a little slight curve at the bottom. Same thing on this side. You're going to curve, then a curved line this way, and close up the bottom. And sometimes you have to go back, make little adjustments. If you're not happy with the size, you want to make them a little bit bigger, but that is the basic shape of the eye. Okay, the next part to our eyes is adding the pupil and the little reflection and some extra details. So we're going to make the pupil, it's almost like a full circle, but it gets cut off on the edge here. So remember, they're big expressive eyes, so we want big pupils in here. So just carefully go around and sketch that circle shape. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's closer to the inside. So come around I always tell the students, you know, don't get upset if it doesn't come out exactly how you want it the first time you sketch it. I'm always going back and making adjustments when I draw things. Okay, now inside the pupil, we're going to create the little reflection, which will stay white once we color it in black. So we're gonna put one there and one on this side. And now what we're gonna do is just make the eyes a little bit thicker. This is gonna get colored in with Sharpie, but I'm just gonna provide you with those guidelines. So down here, just bring your line out a little bit, and then it's gonna come around and take this line down a little bit. So all that is gonna get colored in with the black Sharpie. Same thing on this side. Bring your pencil out, come down, come across, and connect it there. So now we're ready to add the eyelashes. The eyelashes on our emu are very long and expressive, and we want to create them with different sizes and going in different directions just to add a little bit more variety to our emu. So for the first one, you're going to take your pencil and curve one up that way. The next one's going to be slightly longer. The third one and the fourth one are about the same size. We're going to add them. I always keep going right back to that same point. So there's our fourth one. The fifth one's going to be a little bit longer, again from that point coming out. And then the sixth one, going in that same direction, is back to being a little bit shorter. The other three that we're going to add here are going to go in the opposite direction. So start at this point, come out, and curl down. So I'm going to make that one a little bit longer. Same thing, next one comes down, just a little bit shorter, curves down that way. And then the third one, which is the ninth one overall, comes right there. Okay, so down here, we're just adding a couple. And they're gonna extend those up. So the first one's curving up, a little bit shorter. And then this one's gonna be a little bit longer. Now we're going to add the eyelashes to the other eye. So for the first one, we're going to curve in a different direction. We're going to curve this way. So this one's going to come down, curve like that. So it's the opposite of this one. The next one's going to be a little bit longer. So that's going to come out, curl up that way. Okay, the third and fourth one are about the same size, still curling in the same direction. The fifth one is going to be a little bit longer. And the sixth one is going to look just like that one. It's going to come and be a little bit shorter. Remember, always go back to that little starting point. So we have to add 3 more. Now you're going to start here and you're going to go curve down this way. That's number 6. Here's number 7. And then number 8. And then on the bottom, just like we did here, I'm going to curve 2 that go up. We have one there, and then another one over here. And there's our eyelashes for our emu. Now we're going to add our guidelines to help us determine the size of the head and the neck, please sketch these very lightly because they are going to get erased and covered by your coloring options. So with your pencil, we're going to sketch the top of the head and the bottom of the head. It makes a complete circle, but we're not going to draw the whole entire circle. So take your pencil and just very lightly sketch the top of the head, which is like a rainbow shape. Very lightly. We just want to know where we have to put the coloring. Those colors that we add are going to be the feathers of our emu. So if we take our finger and then kind of bring it down around here, we know where to put our bottom lines for the head. So I'm going to come down, again, really light. And these are going to get covered with either oil pastels or crayons or markers, so we just need a little guideline to know where to put that. So if we connected it, it would make a circle. Now what we're going to do is go in and draw our emu's neck. So it starts right underneath the head and it goes straight down. Just a little bit of a curve line, gets a little bit wider as it goes towards the bottom of your paper. Let's move this up a little bit and then come over here. Again, this line is also going to get covered with different coloring options that we add on there. So there's our guidelines for the head and the neck. Now that our sketching is complete, it's time for outlining. So please remember, do not outline the head and the neck. Those are the guidelines that we are going to cover when we use oil pastels or crayons, so we don't want to outline that. We're just outlining the parts of the eye and the beak, and then we're coloring in the pupil with the black Sharpie marker. So grab your marker and just go over your pencil lines very carefully. It's always best just to outline everything first and then go back in and color it in. Go around your little reflection circle there. And I'm just going over each of these eyelashes. I may go back in and make them a little bit thicker. Okay, now I'm going to color in that part that we made a little bit thicker around the eye. We really want our eyes to stand out, be very, very expressive. And now you're going to also color the pupil. Take your time, stay inside the lines. Remember, if you don't have the black Sharpie marker, you can just use a regular black marker. Permanent markers are best just because they don't smear, especially when we add other art materials with them. Now I think I'm just going to go back in. I'm just going to make some of these eyelashes a little bit thicker, so that they really stand out. So take your time and outline your eyes, color in the pupils and the thicker lines on the outside, and then I will show you the next part for outlining. Now that our eyes are completely outlined and our pupils are colored in, make sure that you erase any pencil lines that you missed. And now we're going to go on to the beak. So I decided that we're going to add in the little details to our beak, because if you decide to color in yours with crayon, you won't be able to do the Sharpie on top. So we're going to add 2 little ovals here, the little nostrils. And then we're going to create a smile. So we just do a little curved line here, little curved line over here, and we're just going to basically follow that same shape there. So we come across, come down, come up, and attach it. Now you're going to take your Sharpie marker and you're going to go in and you're going to outline that in. So take your time, follow those lines around. And then you're going to color in your nostrils. And of course the smile. And now we're going to be ready to start our coloring. So now that our outlining is complete on both the eyes and the beak, we're ready to color. You can use markers or crayons to color the beak and the inside of the eyes. I wouldn't use the oil pastels for this part because it does smear. So I'm going to use my Crayola marker to do the beak. And a little helpful hint with coloring with a marker whenever you want to fill a big area is, instead of holding it straight down, hold it on its side, and you'll get those nice broad strokes to fill in that area. So I would say for the beak on your emu, you want to choose something that's kind of resembles an emu's actual color. So you can do an orange or a yellow. We are going to create some very colorful feathers, and that's where the vibrant colors of our emu are going to come shining through. But for the beak, I would keep it fairly simple and just color in this whole entire area. Okay, now we're going to move on to the eyes. Again, you can create any color eyes, but you're just coloring this part here. So I'm going to use this light blue Sharpie marker. And again, if you don't have markers at home and you just have crayons, even a colored pencil, you can use those for this area. And sometimes it's nice using a combination of different types of art materials. It adds a lot of interest to your artwork. So take your time, finish coloring the eyes and the beak, and then we're going to move on to the next part. So now we're ready for the fun part, adding color to our emu. So we're going to take a look at the color wheel, and what I want you to decide is what colors are you going to use when you color in your emu. I'm going to use basically rainbow colors for the head, just like I did on my other sample, but you can use cool colors or warm colors, or you may want to just use a combination of colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And I'm going to start off by using oil pastels. So I'm going to just come back to my original sample. I started off with the purples and the blues, and I went to the greens and yellows, and then down here I did more of the oranges and magenta and pink. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now, whatever you decide to use, whether it's an oil pastel, a crayon, or even a marker, we want to give it the illusion that it looks like feathers. So what you want to try to do is establish these long strokes. Now I left my pencil lines on here just because I want to follow that shape going around so I don't go beyond that. At the end, if you see any type of pencil lines that are left, you can very carefully erase them, but I would leave them for now. So now I'm going to go in with the blue. And what's nice about oil pastels is you can layer the color and they blend really nicely. Okay, now I'm going to move to this green color. Again, long strokes that are going around. And I might even want to use this lighter green color. And I can always go back and just fill in some of these places. I'm not worrying about that right now. I just want to get the longer. And when you make them, don't make all the lines the same length. You want to keep them different so that they look like feathers. Okay, then under here I'm going to do a little bit of the orange. Again, long strokes that come out. And if you don't have oil pastels, the crayons will work just as well. So I'm going to take my time filling up, going around. You do the same, and then I will check back with you. Now that our head is completely colored, we're going to move on to the neck. Just make sure you have the whole entire thing colored in. If you see any bigger white spots, you want to go back in and just fill those in. I actually took my oil pastels and I went back over some areas and I made the lines a little bit darker just to have that value in there. And if you did oil pastels or crayons, I'm going to show you a little trick with watercolor that we're going to do at the end. So now we're going to move on to the neck. And what we're going to try to do for the neck is have it look like feathers that are overlapping. So the strokes that you want to do for that, you think of it in like 3 or 4 sections so that it comes down and it kind of curves out. And again, I can go back over and I can put another color with this, but I just want to show you the line movements. So I have some green there, maybe we'll do some blue underneath. So again, a curve line here, and then bring those lines down. So that's 3. Whoops. I'll do maybe some purple. And then maybe for the last one, I'll do this orange color, pinkish orange. I love these fluorescent colors. They really stand out. So now it looks like we have an overlapping of feathers. So I'm going to go back and add some more color to it, blend additional colors and have some value. And then we're going to move on to the next part. Now, if you have watercolor paint, a fun thing you can do is go back over all of your coloring and add watercolor on top. Because watercolor paint has water and oil pastels or crayons have wax, the two resist each other. So your watercolor paint won't cover up all of your beautiful colors. In fact, what it will do is fill in all these little white spots. And the brush strokes will actually give us more of an illusion that it looks like feathers. So take your watercolor paint and choose the colors that match your crayon colors or your oil pastels. So I'm starting with this purple, and I'm just going to go in, and I can even go right on top of it, just filling in wherever there might be a little bit of white spots coming through. Now I'm going to clean my brush, go to the turquoise color, and same thing. And it just adds another sense of detail to our work. Helps fill in some of those little white spot areas. And also makes it look a little bit more like feathers. I'm gonna clean my brush again. I'm gonna go to this green color. and come over here. So if you have the watercolor paint, feel free to add this onto your emu. Again, it's an option. You don't have to do it, but I like the way it looks and I feel like it kind of brings the whole project together. So I'm going to finish painting mine. You do the same and then I'll check back with you for the last part. So the last part of our project is an option. You can name your emu. You can, of course, write the name on a piece of paper and put it at the bottom of your art project, but a fun thing to do is look through the magazine and just find different letters, different typography, and different fonts that you can pick out letters and use them to create your name. So for this sample, I've decided to name my emu Ellie, E-L-L-Y. I went through the magazine, I picked out different letters, and then I even took them and I pasted them on the back of a colored paper. You don't have to do that, it's an option, but if you have any scrap paper left over or any type of printed paper, you can take out your cut letters, put some glue on the back, put them on that leftover paper that you have. Oops, got a little glue on there. And then you can just carefully cut around, and that way makes your letters stand out a little bit more. But again, you have to see what supplies you have at home and if you want to even do this option. Then what you're going to do is you're going to paste it somewhere on your paper. Now on my other sample, I had the name at the bottom, but look at your artwork. If you have any areas where there's any smudging that maybe you want to cover up, this is a good opportunity to add your name on that area. So kind of play around with it, see where you think it looks best, where the name kind of stands out. And when I glue my letters down, I like to stagger them, going in different directions. I think it adds a little bit of humor and a little interest to the artwork, but that's up to you to decide. So you decide if you're going to create your name with the magazine letters, cut them out, glue them down, and then I'll check back with you. Ellie the emu looks cute and colorful, and I'm sure yours is too. I hope you had fun today learning about emus and creating yours. Until next time, keep smiling, keep dreaming, and keep creating.